Hi, I'm Shelley Wood and this is my tiny sewing room where I make doll clothes sewing videos. Today I'm going to show you how to make this lovely Victorian era dress which will fit most 14 to 15 inch dolls, that's 35 to 38 centimeters tall. We have a guest seamstress in the studio today. Please welcome my niece, Emily, who will be doing the machine sewing for us. Welcome, Emily, and happy birthday! As usual, please go to shelleywood.com to download my 3 free printable sewing patterns. Now you'll have to tape together the 2 skirt pieces like you see me doing in this next video clip. So you just align those long bars and then make sure that your gather lines are identical and that they match up. And then you just tape it. Follow the cutting directions on the pattern pieces to cut out skirt and bodice pieces. Note that the skirt piece is cut on the fold, so it's going to be quite long. Lay one bodice front on top of another bodice front. Now if you use fabric where it matters, you'll want to make sure right sides are together, but I'm using gingham, so. Now stitch across the neck area and clip the seam. Invert the bodice front so your right sides are out. By this I mean that you'll want to flip it around so that we can't see the stitches anymore, and then keep flipping until the 2 bodices touch. Once again, just like that. Now we're going to press this seam, and if you're working with a child who's learning to sew, be sure and get a helper for that. The adults should help with ironing. Lay one bodice back on top of another, and again, if you're using fabric where it matters, you need to keep right sides together. Stitch around the neck and the back closure area. Clip these seams. That's what I'm doing right here. Follow these directions for the other back also. And invert both backs. Now I like to use a chopstick to help with inverting. It can kind of help if you do use it with a little bit of a twist. It will poke those corners out without poking all the way through. Just like you see me doing there, I'm kind of twisting that chopstick. Okay, now press the seams and go back to the bodice front piece, and this next piece is going to seem strange. You're going to open up the shoulder area and then open one of the backs up at the shoulder too. Join back and front bodice pieces at the shoulder, and we're going to stitch them together. So just watch me do all those steps in real time. So here we go. So you just open up where you have stitched right there along the neckline, and then you're going to open the back, and what we're doing is we're joining these 2 shoulders with a stitch. I used a backstitch, but you could use a sewing machine. But this is how it will look while you're working on those stitches. Okay, flip the shoulder right side out like you see me doing in this next clip. And all I'm doing here is closing that back again and then closing the front, and now you're on the right side of the seam. Attach the other back at the shoulder the exact same way, just like you did with the first back, so follow those same directions. And here I am returning it to the right side again. Okay, so now it should look like this. Alright, lay one sleeve down next to the bodice front and stitch from the underarm to just shy of the shoulder seam. And I'm tying a knot at 1.5 centimeters from the shoulder seam. Here's a closer look. Now that's about 3/4 inch from the seam if you're using inches. Wrap the sleeve around to attach it to the back, sewing once again from the underarm area to just shy of the shoulder seam, exactly like we did on the other side. Now you should have a gap at the top of the sleeve. Gather the fabric at the top of the sleeve until it matches the unsewn part of the bodice. So you're only gathering the sleeve. When the two are exactly matched, you knot your gathers and then stitch the top of the sleeve directly to the bodice all along the unsewn shoulder area. Your bodice should now look like this with a little bit of a puff at the top of the sleeve. Attach both your sleeves this way, and that will make your bodice look like this. Okay, now we're going to create a double fold hem at the bottom of a sleeve. And what you're going to do is fold once and then a second time. I like to use a whip stitch along the edge of this fold to create my hem. But you could use a sewing machine, and we'll watch Emily do that now. Good job, Emily. Hem both sleeves this way, or again, you could do it by hand. Now the bodice should look like this. So you have two hems. Fold the bodice in half with right sides together. Sew from the sleeve's cuff to the underarm, and then at the underarm turn so your stitches go down along the side of the bodice. Do this on both sides of the bodice. Carefully clip both of these seams. After clipping, invert the bodice like you see me doing right here. There we go. Now let's work on the skirt for our dress. Create a double fold hem for your skirt by folding the fabric once and then a second time. So here I'm folding it once and then I'm going to fold it again. Stitch along this folded edge of the fabric. You can do this by hand or on a sewing machine. But today my niece is going to use her little sewing machine. Here we go. Emily, go. Now one side is hemmed, but the other isn't. Press the hem with a hot iron. As I said before, children need help with this. Gather the unhemmed long side of the skirt. Note, do not tie off your gathers until later. Just leave your needle hanging there loosely. On either side of your gathers, leave 3/4 inch of fabric hanging free and pin your gathered skirt to the bottom of the bodice. Now the gathered thread has not been knotted yet. The free ungathered edges need to be on each side. They should stick out about 1 centimeter from the back closure area of the bodice. Once you're sure the gathers are all pinned, tie off your gathers and cut the needle free, but make sure you have those little overhangs. Now begin stitching the bodice to the skirt. I used a backstitch by hand, but you could use a sewing machine to do this. You should still have those skirt edges that extend about 1 centimeter beyond the bodice on either side of your skirt. This is very important. Once the skirt has been sewn, flip the bodice up, fold the extra edge of the skirt once, like this, and then a second time, like so, and we're going to create a hem here, right along that edge. Use a whip stitch to hem this skirt closure area to give it about 1.5 inches or 2 centimeters of hem on each side of the skirt. So both sides need to have this. After hemming these, fold the dress in half, keeping your right sides together. Stitch the skirt together from the closure to the bottom of the skirt's hem. Turn the garment right side out. That's what I'm doing here. Add some snaps down the back. And now you're ready to try it on your doll. She is so cute. For more free printable sewing patterns, including these Victorian boots patterns, as well as the pretty bloomers patterns, remember to visit my website, shelleywood.com. And happy birthday, Emily. This video is for you. Well, that's all I have for you today. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy my videos and my free patterns, please share them on social media. It actually helps my website grow when you help spread the word.